Hey.
Well, hello. How is everyone doing?
I hope everyone's doing really good. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing.
Yes. Yes. It
Any
is an
special-
excellent day. An absolutely wonderful day.
Anything special about it? Like, what's going? Well, that's like, I don't usually hear you talk like that.
Well, the sun's out, a nice cool breeze, and, you know, I had Popeye's chicken yesterday, and that was awesome.
Oh, that is a good thing. That's it's a very good thing. I mean, I've got no problem with celebrating the little things. I think that's one of the most important things we can do every day to get off on the right foot. You know, there's always, even on the worst day, there's always, I know, gooey bear, but there's always a silver lining to something somewhere, some
Mm-hmm.
little thing. It could be like a stranger saying something nice, a compliment. You know, it could be just noticing how nice the sun is that day, or something. You know, or your pet curling on your lap, knowing you're having some anxiety or anything. Just something goofy. You know,
Mm,
it just always applies a nice little reset, doesn't it? Mm,
that it does.
it does. I've been in a pretty happy mood the last 2 days myself. I don't know. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and nothing's changed. The same coffee, like same, the same,
Hey,
same.
coffee makes everything good.
Coffee's life. Yeah, coffee is life for
Mm-hmm.
me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we've got an interesting chapter, do we? Hmm?
Yes, we are now up to chapter 32. And that one This one is this one is probably the most tricky, and the one that will play on the most people and will actually be the most successful at affecting everyone. And I'm not just talking about like, you know, uh, these laws could never work on me kind of thing, and like, this is someone obviously trying to dupe you in a way, because, well, yes, they are trying to dupe you, but this law specifically is the one that gets used the most by people in power, and
Mm-hmm.
actually is the most effective to everyone from
Mm-hmm.
the people in power.
Mm.
And that law is play to people's fantasies.
Yes, it is. Let me pull that up. They know what we're talking about here. I agree. When looking at this, the purpose of our series is, to try challenge the challenge is to apply it to everyday life and make people aware of them and how it's
Mm-hmm.
affecting like everything that we do. And I agree that this one is everywhere. It
Mm,
doesn't. It's not very hard to sit for a second and realize where this is being applied in your life. I mean, all you have to do is try to
exactly.
buy. All you have to do is go shopping and try to buy something. Deal with salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
Try to change a contract. Anything at work. Your home life. Dealing with children. Dealing with your partner. Dealing in social circles. This law is everywhere, 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 and it's not necessarily a bad one. I,
No,
I
it's not.
it, it's like we're going to have like a I'm looking forward to this one because I think there's a lot to discuss about it. You know, well, just to start out, it
Absolutely.
is like you said, it's played at people's fantasies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's the truth is often avoided because it is ugly and unpleasant. Never appeal to truth and reality unless you are prepared for the anger that comes from disenchantment. Life is so harsh and distressing that people who can manufacture romance or conjure up fantasy are like oases within everyone's life. There is great power in tapping into the fantasies of the masses. And you just got to go with that, you know? Because yes, we're all aware of the problems of the world, okay, but there aren't like really good, strong fixes for that right away. So just take, for instance, the burnout we're all suffering from the news media, or or just the socials in general, with the negativity about all the problems that are going on here in America, political aggression, political violence, differences in policies, and then we've got war, talk of war every day. We can't ignore the ongoing gun debate on mass shootings. We can't, it's in the news every day. Another shooting of
Mm-hmm.
mass shooting being like more than three or four, like besides gang violence and all of that we have. Our healthcare crisis, so much negativity that if I was up here talking about that every day, who the heck, as an example, would want to listen to that?
Exactly.
Unless I painted a fantasy of how to fix it in another world that's just better around it. Like, right? Unless I was up here like throwing flowers at it and making it smell better. you know? Nobody's gonna want to listen to that. Like, because it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
We all wanna kind of get a little bit away from it. There's no harm in dealing with reality, but not wanting to actually tackle it all the time,
Mm.
right?
Yes, exactly. And tackling it's, I mean, yeah, because tackling it's one of the hardest parts. It's like, um, it it requires you to actually be active within um, be active around what's happening
Mm-hmm.
and be able to, for the most part, actually understand what's happening to begin with. And if you don't, and for most people, the average person, they're not going to bother trying to actually really understand what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's why we have the news. It's because
Exactly.
it's why we're meant to have the news, is to tell us and to let us know what's happening and the pros and cons of it. Unfortunately, the news likes to use Rule 32 quite a bit.
They do, and kind of biasly.
Hmm. It's no longer. I mean, the news and tabloids and stuff um, have always been biased in one way or another. However, I think something that is more modern now is the level at which they like to play they like to play on the information that's being given to to uh, further manipulate it to push you into acting the way that they want you to.
Mm-hmm. To try to, like, funnel you to where they actually want the momentum, where they want the,
Mm.
the triggered action. I get what you're saying there
And
exactly.
it's not saying like it doesn't happen, but I feel like it's happening to a much more extreme extent nowadays.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. We see it every day. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, playing to people's fantasies can be a good thing. It can be aspiring, right, and motivating.
Mm.
Um, you know, dealing in the negative all the time, it definitely can be less productive. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, I don't see a problem with this unless you're like playing on the fantasies, like, and absolutely manipulating somebody into a scam, into a fake relationship, into like a harmful monetary situation or a physically
Mm-hmm.
dangerous situation. You know, those aren't,
Absolutely.
yeah, those would all qualify as like not good. You know, but generally, the way that playing to people fantasies work is harmless because it, in a way, because, well, let's be honest, it's pretty recognizable in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
Like P.T. Barnum, if we use him as an example, obviously played into the fantasies of get well quick. There's an elixir that's just going to change your life and make you feel better, without going to like medical doctors or whatever. And everybody kind of thought, well, yeah, this is a salesman on the side of the road, and he's just like selling me this fake ass shit. But buying into the whole thing kind of made you feel better. The elixirs tasted good, like they had things that, like, being part of a thing that it could just make you feel better. Kind of worked.
A
Placebo
another
effect, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
another good example. I can't remember the name, but it was during the time when there was this radioactive isotope that was discovered, and
Hmm.
basically they had been I think it ended up being called radium or
Hmm.
something along those lines. I don't actually think I think that was the colloquial name for it. But there was a medication that was created by the snake oil salesman that
Hmm.
had this radium in it, and people would take it for all sorts of issues, not knowing that they were ingesting small amounts of radioactive material. And one guy who was quite rich and wealthy bought like drank I think it was like 2 or 3 bottles a day it was something ridiculous. It might have been like 2 or 3 bottles a week,
Hmm.
but it was absolutely insane. And yeah, he ended up getting full blown cancer and took him out.
Right. So that's like a negative part about it that actually caused harm. Like it,
Yeah, it was playing on the fantasy
yeah.
of everlasting health or something like
Hmm.
that.
That's a very good idea is when they weaponize or use the actual painting of the fantasy against you, and that it could
Mm-hmm.
be very, very dangerous. But I mean, it just shows that it's like everywhere. It's like when you go to buy a car, it's like when you watch even YouTube and the ads come up. Okay. Um, it's everywhere. Influencers, politics, YouTube channels, just general conversations out there on any of the socials, in our personal lives, absolutely, in our work lives, all over. I mean, there's so many examples. And I guess the goal of this stream is going to be like separating the good ones from the bad, right?
Mm-hmm. The main goal here is to just be able to be more aware of this kind of thing. To actually be able to understand uh, what you're hearing and how to, like, some of the main things you should be asking yourself when you hear someone start to push a an idea or a I guess a fantasy.
Mm, exactly. Okay. I think we should give them an example of what Green's talking about here because it's a very big subject, right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
So just putting some real life stuff on it will be good. So want to go to history? Are you ready? How's your
Um, yeah.
okay?
So, ooh, 1 second here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
When you're ready, I just want to let everybody know if you see comments, we're both live on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube, and we have our lovely mods there. Thank you for joining us. And those of you watching live, don't be afraid to join the chat. We welcome everyone for open discussion. We're just gonna try to break down the chapter the best that we can for everybody, and we look forward to talking to you. If you can't join the live chat, meet us in the comments. Like Rekkr and I are open. I would say like
absolutely.
extremely open to discussing these topics. We don't claim to be the experts on anything, so we want to hear from you.
And I always love a good challenge. So if you want to come argue about that argue with me about something I said, do it. But
Okay, so
shall we
this
get started with the observance of the law?
that's right. And for those of you following along, the PDF is listed in the description if you want to read along with us, or just follow along to the lovely tones of Rekkr's voice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the city-state of Venice was prosperous for so long that its citizens felt their small republic had destiny on its side. In the Middle Ages, and high Renaissance, its virtual monopoly on trade to the east made it the wealthiest city in Europe. Under a under a beneficent under a beneficent republican government, uh, Venetians enjoyed liberties that few other Italians had ever known. Yet, in the 16th century, their fortunes suddenly changed. The opening of the New World transferred power to the Atlantic side of Europe, to the Spanish and Portuguese, and later the Dutch and English. Venice could not compete economically, and its empire gradually dwindled. The final blow was was the devastating loss of a prized Mediterranean possession, the island of Cyprus, captured from Venice by the Turks in 1570. Now noble families went broke in Venice, and banks began to fold. A kind of gloom and depression settled over the citizens. They had known a glittering past and had either lived through it or heard stories about it from their elders. The closeness of the glory years was humiliating. The Venetians half believed that the goddess Fortune was only playing a joke on them, and that the old days would soon return. For the time being, though, what could they do? In 1589, rumors began to swirl around Venice of the arrival not far away of a mysterious man called El Bragadino, a master of alchemy, a man who had won incredible wealth through his ability. It was said to multiply gold through the use of a secret substance. The rumor spread quickly because a few years earlier, a Venetian nobleman passing through Poland had heard a learned man prophesy that Venice would recover her past glory and power if she could find her past glory and power if she could find a man who understood the alchemic art of manufacturing gold. And so, as word reached Venice of the gold this Bragadino possessed, he clinked gold coins continuously in his hands, and gold objects filled his palace. Some began to dream through him the city would prosper again. Members of Venice's most important noble families accordingly went together to Versailles, where Bragadino lived. They toured his palace and watched in awe as he demonstrated his gold-making ability, taking a pinch of seemingly worthless minerals and transforming it into several ounces of gold dust. The Venetian Senate prepared to deliberate the idea of extending an official invitation to Bragadino to stay in Venice at the city's expense, when word suddenly reached them that they were competing with the Duke of Mantua for his services. When word suddenly reached them that they were competing with the Duke of Mantua for his services, they heard of a magnificent party in Bragadino's palace for the Duke, featuring garments with gold buttons, gold watches, gold plates, and on and on. Worried they might lose Bragadino to Mantua, the Senate voted almost unanimously to invite him to Venice, promising him the mountain of money he would need to continue living in his luxurious life, his luxurious style, but only if he came right away. Later that year, the mysterious Bragadino arrived in Venice, with his piercing dark eyes under thick brows and two enormous black mastiffs that accompanied him everywhere. He was foreboding and impressive. He took up residence in a sumptuous palace on the island of the Giudecca, with the Republic funding his banquets, his expensive clothes, and all his other whims. A kind of alchemy fever spread through Venice. On the street corners, hawkers would sell coal, distilling apparatuses, bellows, how-to books on the subject. Everyone began to practice alchemy, everyone except Bragadino. The alchemist seemed to be in his own hurry, in no hurry to begin manufacturing the gold that would save Venice from ruin. Strangely enough, this only increased his popularity and following. People, people thronged from all over Europe, even Asia, to meet this remarkable man. Months went by, with gifts pouring into Bragadino from all sides. Still, he gave no signs of the miracle that Venetians confidently expected him to produce. Eventually, the citizens began to grow impatient, wondering if he would wait forever. At first, the Senate warned them not to hurry him. He was a capricious devil who needed to be cajoled. Finally, though, the nobility began to wonder too, and the Senate came under pressure to show a return on the city's ballooning investment. Bragadino had only scorn for the doubters, but he responded to them. He had, he said, already deposited in the city's mint the mysterious substance with which he multiplied gold. He could use this substance up all at once and produce double the gold. But the more slowly the process took place, the more it would yield. If left alone for several years, sealed in a casket, the substance would multiply the gold in the mint 30 times over. Most of the senators agreed to wait to reap the gold mine Bragadino promised. Others, however, were angry. 7 more years of this man living royally at the public trough, and many of the common citizens of Venice echoed the same sentiments. Finally, the alchemist's enemies demanded he produce a proof of his skill, a substantial amount of gold, and soon, lofty, apparently devoted in his art, Bragadino responded that Venice, in its impatience, had betrayed him, and would therefore lose his services. He left town, going first to nearby Padua, then in 1590, at the invitation of the Duke of Bavara, who, like the entire city of Venice, had known great wealth but had fallen into bankruptcy through its own prolificacy, and hoped to regain his fortune through the famous alchemist's services. And so Bragadino resumed the comfortable arrangement that he had known in Venice, and the same pattern repeated itself. The young interpretation. The young Cypriot now this is a name, Magmugna had lived in
right.
Magmugna. The young Cypriot Magmuna had lived in Venice for several years before reincarnating himself as the alchemist Bragadino. He saw how gloom had settled on the city, how everyone was hoping for a redemption from some indefinite source, while other charlatans mastered everyday cons based on sleight of hand. Magmuna mastered human nature. With Venice as his target from the start, he travelled abroad, made some money through his alchemy scams, then returned to Italy, setting up shop in Versailles. There he created a reputation that he knew would spread to Venice from a distance. In fact, his aura of power would be all the more impressive. At first, Mag, Magnuma, Magmug, Magmugna did not
Yeah,
use vulgar. It's a hell of a name.
I know.
Uh, at first, Magmugna did not use vulgar demonstrations to convince people of his alchemic skills. His sumptuous, his sumptuous palace, his opulent, his opulent garments, the clink of gold in his hands, all these provided a superior argument to anything rational, and these established the cycle that kept him going. His obvious wealth confirmed his reputation as an alchemist, so that patrons like the Duke of Mantua gave him money, which allowed him to live in wealth, which reinforced his reputation as an alchemist, and so on. Only once this reputation was established and dukes and senators were fighting over him did he resort to trifling necessities of a demonstration. By then, however, people were easily to deceive. They wanted to believe. The Venetian senators who watched him multiply gold wanted to believe so badly that they failed to notice the glass pipe up his sleeve, from which he slipped gold dust into his pinches of minerals. Brilliant and capricious, he was the alchemist of their fantasies, and once he had created an aura like this, no one noticed his simple deceptions. Such is the power of the fantasies that take root in us, especially in times of scarcity and decline. People rarely believed that their problems arise from their own mindset. People rarely believe that their problems arise from their own misdeeds and stupidity. Someone or something out there is to blame. The other, the world, the gods, and so salvation comes from the outside as well. Had Bragadino arrived in Venice, armed with the detailed analysis of the reasons behind the city's economic decline, and of the hard-nosed steps that it could take to turn things around, he would have been scorned. The reality was too ugly, and the solution too painful. Mostly the kind of hard work that the citizens' ancestors had mustered to create an empire. Fantasy, on the other hand, in his case, the romance of alchemy, was easy to understand and infinitely more palatable. To gain power, you must be a source of pleasure for those around you, and pleasure comes from playing to people's fantasies. Never promise a gradual improvement through hard work. Rather, promise the moon, the great and sudden transformation, the pot of gold.
Oh,
And the little quote is, "No man need despair of gaining converts to the most extravagant hypothesis, who has art enough to represent it in favorable colors."
mm. To paint the fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. No, that's a
Doesn't
perfect example of the law. Like Bragadino just offered like just the dream, but never produced.
I would say you not even offer the dream. What you're offering, what you're offering people, is whatever they think is good. It's
In
not.
other words,
It,
their expectations are what they came up with. He didn't say, "I'll make your life better. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that." It was the expectations they put on it, right?
In reality, this is a perfect example of someone fooling themselves. You
Yes. Hmm.
they didn't have he didn't really have to do anything other than show up.
Right. I mean, he was an alchemist. It's up to them to
Yep.
know what that is. And it
Well,
wasn't like he was out there peddling, I can change your life, I'll do this, I'll do that. He just
mm,
did this as a his sideshow, his thing. And people just
mhm.
they
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 gave
actually
him the power.
they they enlarged the fantasy. Like
Mhm.
they put all their own things on it. Both countries, right? Offering
Mhm.
them a free ride. Who wouldn't take advantage of that as a sideshow
Oh,
artist or something like that?
absolutely.
Like anybody would. I would, you would, a musician, if you're told like, hey, like come to my country, I'll pay your way. We want to hear your music, or we want you to come read aloud. Oh yeah, Claire Bear, we love your stuff. Like come to Venice and read out loud for us. And then if they decide that me reading out loud was going to change their life,
Mhm.
that's on them. I'm not out there saying, hey, bring me to Venice and I can fix everything. I'm not doing
Mhm.
it. It's a perfect example of being fooled, uh, setting yourself up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of them setting themselves up, and then they got disillusioned when what they thought wasn't the reality of the whole thing. And the poor guy lost his life in the end because they were like, "Listen, dude, you either can make the gold or you can't make the gold."
Mhm.
Like it's like that's enough. Like and
Mhm.
you had to worry about it back then because like kings and nobles, like they didn't mess around. If you embarrassed them or they felt humiliated, really the solution to the problem was the gallows or off with your head every single time. Just like,
Basically.
you pissed me off. You're out of here, and I mean you're really out of here. Like not just leave the city, like leave the planet. Yeah, yeah, not good, not good. Hmm. So let's see, where are we next? So one of my favorite parts is talking about why this actually works. Okay,
Mhm.
and I think it's really pretty straightforward why it works. We talked about this
Yep.
already. Escapism and pain avoidance. Life is boring and gloomy and oppressive enough, and having that escape psychologically reduces stress and anxiety. How many of us binge watch things on TV or on the YouTube or anime or movies or remember Juju would binge watch Hallmark movies, like it's just feel good stuff.
Mm.
um Everybody knows that Hallmark movies aren't real life, nor is reality TV or anything else like you're doing to feel good as far as shows and entertainment. It's made to entertain, it's made to make things look better than they are and just give you that escapism. It's
Yes.
short-term relief, and that's how our brain works, right? We're especially now in 2026, can we all agree that everything's very fast-paced and we need quick responses, quick relief, or we don't feel satisfied about
Oh
anything.
yeah.
So this is a quick, short-term relief pattern that our brains respond to well. That's why it works. Um, the next one is you go with the next one.
Uh, escapism and pain avoidance, which
No, the next one is number 2.
oh sorry, motivated reasoning and confirm. Wait,
Hmm.
yes, that's the one. Why is it? Oh, I see it.
Did
Threw
I
it
misspell
around.
it? Oh, did I miss what happened? No, we're on
Ooh,
number 2. Like yes, the bullets
why?
on the.
Why is everything? Oh, you might. You continue on. I need to fix something.
Okay, so I'll do the second one is motivated reasoning in confirmation bias, and that is basically just the fact like with the story with Badagino, Bragadino rather. Um, it's just like see what you want to believe. Um, People don't simply see the world as it is all the time. Something they see what they want to believe, what they're comfortable with, especially if it flatters their ego or promises relief, or it coincides in other areas of their beliefs. Once you invest in a fantasy, either financially, emotionally, or publicly, you rationalize away any contradictions that come up to protect your self-image, and that you want to go there, that this is good for you, this makes you feel good. And so I'm not going to look too deep into it. um
Got it.
okay, so
It's
so
fixed.
then is it fixed? Do you want to do the third
Yep.
bullet then?
Okay. Desire over facts, which is exactly that. Trying to play on people's more you're playing on people's ideas of an ideal situation, of
Hmm.
what they're wanting and how they might perceive obtaining what they want.
Hmm.
And and if you play on that, you're going to get more people's uh, well, time and energy
Hmm.
and wealth in many cases, because because
Well,
I mean, who doesn't want what they want?
exactly, because fantasy lights up our reward circuits, don't it, in our
Yes,
brain?
exactly.
Like hope, anticipation, status, connection, transcendence, making money, all those things, those feelings that make you like feel good, also make you more vulnerable to persuasion and to be more
Yes.
compliant with this. Because would you agree that emotional desire weighs more in decisions when it comes to this than like basic information or the
Oh,
little red
absolutely.
flags that might go up? I mean, feeling
Um,
that
the
actual good feeling is going to outweigh the minor little red flags that might pop up.
Yep, and
Yeah.
being able to being able and having a almost like a non-specific desire
Hmm.
um, play to
Hmm.
creates more want for the results of it,
Yeah.
because uh, because of how abstract it is. You you fill in the gaps. You end up filling in the gaps of whatever someone's offering when they're playing on your desires. And they don't
Hmm.
even have to play on your desires very hard. They just have to play on your desires enough for you to actually put the dots together yourself. Where if someone comes to you and say you're currently in a little bit of a financial stick, and they say, well, look, you're gonna have to start cutting back on your takeaways. Um, you can't be going and buying all this luxury items. You're gonna have to start making your own food. You're gonna have to start making a lot of your own stuff,
Hmm.
and you're going to have to work hard to try and save money to get yourself out of that. No one wants to hear that. I mean, who wants
Yeah,
to hear that?
even though
Who wants
even
to
though
hear
that's
that
the
you have to do
practical,
hard work?
yeah,
Mm.
even though that's the practical response and all of that, they'd rather like say, okay, I hear what you're saying. Like, here you go, let's buy that $2 lottery ticket.
Look,
We won't have to worry
yeah,
about it.
look,
You
look.
know?
I've listen. Okay, okay. Here's something I've got for you. I can guarantee you. Look, if we go and we bet on this horse, oh my god, I know for a fact that we are going to win. He has been on a rampage, absolute rampage. There is no stopping him. You can't,
Hmm.
like, you wouldn't believe how well this horse has been doing.
Hmm. Couple that with the fact that like you're a friend and you're telling me this,
Mm-hmm.
and add in that, oh, well, don't tell everybody, but I've been watching the training and talking to the trainer, and this insider
Mm-hmm.
information first, and like I'm getting like a lead to something really good, and it's going to change everything. Yeah, sure. Confirmation bias. Like I'm just like adding all these good reasons
Mm-hmm.
to go along with it because it feels good, instead of focusing on the fact that you're trying to sell me something. And of course, I
You
can't
you
believe everything
actually
that comes out of your mouth.
you actually fell for something that I laid out. I never
Right.
mentioned
No,
that
you
I
didn't.
spoke
I'm
to
just
the
saying,
trainer.
I'm just
I
saying,
I
like, if
I
you
said,
added that, it would
yep.
enhance it. Yeah, like I know you
But
didn't.
here's the other thing. I never said how whether or not he won anything. I just
No,
said he was on a
no.
rampage. I
Right.
just said he was doing well.
Everything you said was speculation and personal opinion. You couldn't be held
Mm-hmm.
to it at all. And that's what we fall
Mm-hmm.
for. Like because there's no
Mm-hmm.
facts in there and everything, but we think we're hearing facts, but we're not, right? We're
Yep.
adding
Nope.
as we go, and that's perfect. That's the confirmation bias right there. Our brains go there to add reasons why we're choosing it, because there's actually no really solid foundation as to why we're choosing it, except for it feels good. Period.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 4 is social identity and belonging. That fantasy about being united, being a group, belonging to something, um, being on a special mission. Once a fan,
Being being
yeah,
yeah, being special.
yeah,
Being being the one who knows more than everyone else about a particular thing.
which is why psychologically, once that fantasy is fused with identity, like I'm part of this movement, I belong, I resonate with it, this speaks to me, like I could do this, like this sounds good. Once that happens in our brain, attacking the fantasy feels like attacking the person. So you end
Mm-hmm.
up defending it fiercely, even though it doesn't make any sense.
Jin, stop making reasonable sense. This isn't the place and time right now.
Is he putting it up? Does Shelley put it up? Yeah. Which one? Humans need fantasy to be
No,
where the
wrong one.
rising ape meets the phone. What, this one?
Yeah.
Small problem with your horse racing analogy. The odds go down as the horse wins more. This is true. You win less money as it becomes known as a good horse.
Listen,
Actually,
listen.
that's
We
actually the
we don't.
rules of yes. Like, yeah,
No,
we have.
not in this case. This case, there is this horse has only been doing better and better and better. It's only been doing better. It,
Yes,
there's
but you're
no.
not saying whether it won or not. So, like, there you go. Because he's right. The more
What do
it
we need to
wins.
know about that?
Uh, true,
It's been
true.
doing better. It's been doing so much better. Like you've
Yeah.
got no clue how well it's been doing.
Okay. Then we get to the next one. Do you want to tackle that? Because that kind of
Social identity and belonging.
no, I
This
just did
is.
that one. Whoa,
Oh yes,
whoa.
sorry.
Okay, you're here with
Cognitive.
me, right?
I
Okay, I think he might be following off. Like, we talk so often, Claire, that I don't really listen as you go. I'm just sipping my drink over here. Like, I have no idea what you're
For
talking
some
about.
reason, they both merged into one. Desire and social identity merged into one for me.
Oh, okay. All right. So you could do
Um,
the last one, which is the last one. Yeah.
Cognitive load and complexity reduction. This one's a little bit more complicated. It basically involves overwhelming the person you're speaking to, or being overwhelmed by what is being said.
Right.
Like, and trying to make even trying to make something that seems something that could be very simple, trying to make it seem more complicated than it is, just so when you actually provide the solution, it is much more easily digested than um
Then the complex
than
problem itself.
than the
Yeah.
complex problem
Okay.
itself.
Because
It's
that's it.
like
Yeah.
mm,
Because
it's like trying to balance three balls on a three way seesaw.
mhm. Because reality and facts are complex, slow,
Mhm.
uncertain, unsolvable sometimes. And so fantasy actually promises something simple, clean storyline, like just like hero versus villain, problem versus
Mhm.
miracle solution, good versus evil. Okay,
Mhm.
us versus them. Okay, in those big like in now in 2026 in very highly uncertain environments, a simple fantasy can feel safe rather than a
Absolutely.
complex truth because it reduces mental effort. In other words,
Mhm.
like, you know, um just take something as simple as us versus them. When you're with a group of people that have like the same feeling that you do, the fantasy of like we're right and they're wrong. Let's just make it simple. I'm not saying it's so. I hate the us versus them, but it's a perfect example. When you're the us, you're with the group that believes they're right and you're all on the same page, okay? And those guys over there, well, they've got to be wrong because they don't think like we do. Like they don't think
Mhm.
about the situation the way that we do. Okay, that's clearly just straight out simple. Do they get into the details? Like when they say, like, something stupid like, the us people are saying the color red should be the national color. Like, everybody should have to wear red all over the country because it shows solidarity and it shows we all believe the same thing. But the them
Mhm.
people are saying, no, I don't think we should have a national color because we're all individuals. And although we're all Americans, we all have different levels of values in culture. And so forcing people to assign to one color in representation is just wrong. Now, the us people may actually agree with the them people slightly, but because the us people, the major ones, are not saying it, they're not going to subscribe to it, even though it's common sense that, well, you really shouldn't be telling people what to wear. Like style is individual in color represent, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
even though the us people would recognize that they don't like to be told what to wear, they're not necessarily going to go against it
Nope.
because they
No,
want
they're
the
not.
simple answer of, I'm just not going to listen to it because the simple thing is the us people are right because I belong here. Like, and that's simple and that feels good. And I don't really, even though that makes sense, like, I don't want to hear it. It's too complex for me to try to convince the us people that they shouldn't really be making me try to wear red. You know, there's the risk they'll throw me out.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And yeah, it it is absolutely. It's just it's simplifying things for people to digest much
Hmm.
easier.
Hmm. So then we get to why these doesn't work, right? It's very powerful, but we have to admit it's unstable, right?
Mhm.
So psychologically, it's going to fail, especially in these situations. I'll let you take the first one.
When reality hits too hard, boy does it always hit hard.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when once the speech is over, once the person has once his once the plan has fallen apart, it's it it it, it becomes a little bit more difficult. It
When you start to
real
recognize like the gap between like
Yeah, when you start to
the
recognize the gap,
fantasy and
yeah,
reality. Yeah.
it tends to have more of an effect on you than if you just started out with the raw truth of the situation.
Like with your example with Bragadino, right? When they
Mhm.
realized that, well, it's not going to solve anything. We just spent all
Nope.
this money on this guy and we didn't fix a damn
Mhm.
thing. When the
Yep.
reality of the situation slammed up to the fantasy and it was like, oh man, like when you finally see it, I guess is what it's trying to say. When the
Yeah.
actual reality of the situation. And for other ones, it would be like if you invested in something and you lost savings, broken
Mm-hmm.
promises, public humiliation that results in something you believe, like in the us
Mm-hmm.
versus them when you're all caught wearing red and people are looking at
Mm-hmm.
you strange, going,
Or
what
you
is this?
find out that no one actually was even talking about wearing red. In fact,
Right,
it was
right.
just one person trying
Mhm.
to trying to make
Trying
trying
to
to
sell a
rile everyone
thousand
up.
t-shirts. Yeah, trying to sell
Mm.
1,000 t-shirts because they were stuck with them. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when you realize you've been hoodwinked in some way. Yes. But that's when people flip from devotion to the fantasy to outright rage, and like exposing the fantasy, exposing the fallacy, like shining a light on the situation. Yes, and they get really, really mad, and sometimes emotionally and unreasonably mad. like because nobody likes to be taken advantage of, especially when you feel you were an active participating person in the hoodwinking, like you were gullible. They made a fool of
Mm-hmm.
you. They humiliated you. Like, no, yes, we tend to really react to those situations highly. um
Mm-hmm.
the second one is exactly what Jin said in the chat before. When there's high information or high skeptic audiences, people that are
Mm-hmm.
actually looking at the situation, critical thinking experts, people that are stronger in the field than you, they're not going to fall for it. They're not. They're going to
No.
challenge you right from the start. As a matter of fact, they're going to bend over backwards to believe that just like you're going to start from you're full of crap, instead of I believe everything you say. Like you're going to start in a negative with those people, and
It's
in
I mean
those in
it's
those
why
environments, it's not going to work.
yeah.
Fantasy.
It's one of the reasons why that's the first, like, you're wrong is pretty much uh the first assumption um in using the scientific method, and then you go
Mhm.
forward in figuring out uh whether or not that's true.
Right. So actually, fantasy with real substance. In other words, like instead of making also fill in the colors of a situation or a picture they're trying to paint, we if there's actually substance there of what they're trying to do with the explanation and the feel good, we could go with it. Definitely. Right out.
Mm-hmm.
But you're definitely going to need more substance for fantasy to work with these individuals in this group, in this mindset. You know, people that approach things that way. Fantasy has to have real substance, because even these people, high skeptical audiences, the ones looking to debunk misinformation and all of that, they're also looking for that feel good trigger, that instant short term relief from the stress, because just imagine how much weight is on you when you're always approaching something from the negative. It can't feel
Mm-hmm.
good. It can't feel
No.
good long term. So they also want to buy into the fantasy, that they want to feel good. It just takes a little more effort. You got to really
Mm-hmm.
hit a nerve with those people, and you really have to back it up.
And
Um,
you have to play your cards very smart to be able to get around those people.
Right. And I'm going to use a perfect example here, because the skeptical audiences in the myth debunking community, they have to deal with other communities like, okay, I'm going to say a dirty word here. Are you ready? Like the
Mm-hmm.
flat earth community, a
I
whole
knew
group
you
of
were going to
people.
say flat Earth.
How could I not? I mean, how could I not? It's a glaring example of this. Okay,
Oh yeah.
those people got together, even knowing that they're looking at a situation with skepticism and everything, and just join together in this fantasy that the earth is actually flat to feel better.
I mean, you look
Did they not?
outside. Do you
I
see
mean,
a
come on.
curve? You look outside. Do you see any? I don't see
Don't
one. Do you
start
see
with me.
one? I
Don't
don't
start with
see
me.
one.
Because I swear to God, if I get 100 DMs with everybody accusing you of being a flat earther and why the hell are you up here on my channel, you're answering them. I'm sending every single one to you. because
What do you mean? The Earth is flat.
it's like, that's it. You're getting the DMs. Please. His Twitter is down below everything. Like, I'll give you a full, send me the DM. Send it to him, please. I do not have that much time in the day. Oh my God. No, I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna pop your bubble there. I'm sorry. Does it really matter that you look out the window in don't see a curve.
Oh. I mean,
Because
to
I
be
look out
fair, I look out the window and all I see are trees, so I can't even see anything other than
because
trees.
yeah, I
So,
look out. Listen, I'm just gonna blow that up right here because when I look out the window, I don't see the supermarket, but it exists. I look out the window and I don't see the president of the United States, but gosh darn it, I've got the headache, so I know he exists. Okay, I look out the window and I don't see New Zealand. But are you going to tell me it doesn't exist?
what do you mean New Zealand never existed? What?
Okay, you're fired. That's, that's it. You the bear won the argument when totally, he totally disavows the whole subject. Like he totally just yeah.
What? If you look
Nice,
at most
nice.
maps and games and movies, New Zealand's not even there.
It is there. It is where you live, unless you're like the perfect fantasy. I have a co-host and a friend I talk to all the time. That's the perfect fantasy because New Zealand doesn't
This
exist,
entire
and
time, you've
apparently
literally been talking to yourself.
Damn, what a waste of what? Almost 5 years now? Like, what's this? Like,
Hmm.
what is this? Like, no, 4 years? I don't know. Whatever it is. Anyway, now we're going to talk about when ethical lines get crossed. Go ahead. You can do this one.
Um, basically, when basically, um, it more or less when ethical lines get crossed, it's when people start to feel like um you're going against some sort of moral or you're breaking some sort of moral code
You mean like
with
outright lying and exploiting vulnerabilities like the existence of
exactly.
New Zealand?
See, you agree with me. New Zealand doesn't exist.
No, I'm saying it's an outright lie, and it played on my
Yeah, an outright lie. New
vulnerabilities of
Zealand
New Zealand
exists.
actually existing. Like, no, like, yeah, okay. Hmm. Yes.
But no, it's yeah, it's when you start it's when people start to notice that you are straight up lying about
Mhm.
something that you're talking about. And we've seen this quite unfortunately recently with a lot of things, um, like some mathematics that was used quite recently,
Oh, are you
very
talking
poorly.
about the National Health
But
Administrator JFK's like mathematical equations in Congress? Are you talking about that? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
basically.
okay. Or
And
yeah.
well, anyone with a little bit of understanding of mathematics will know exactly that that was
Oh,
wrong, and that
like a third grader?
and yeah,
Jeez.
and
Okay.
and in fact he was in fact trying to play to people's fantasies of this
Mhm.
huge savings. And in fact, if I remember correctly, these huge savings that they talk about don't even materialize for the end user.
Not for the majority. There are
For
some,
the
like, you know,
majority, sorry, for the majority of the end users.
mhm. Like they were saying that a drug was $600 previously and it's only $10 now. And that is a 600% savings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, that's math, dude. Like, that math doesn't work. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Is it a
That's not how
savings?
math
Yes.
works.
Right, right. It's not how math works. Sorry, no, not going to get there. Yeah. In that 600% savings is made to exemplify, as an example. Like, yes, we're doing so good for you. What? But then again, there's another example where a drug that is only $16 in a regular over the counter as a generic is being sold for $200 during this in the same program. So, like, does that mean it's a 200% loss? No. No. The math just doesn't work like that. Like, it's, yeah. They
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah. Once you expose that kind of manipulation, you know, even though like it's true you are saving money. But once you over use it, over escalate it, because this kind of ties into number four, like once that is exposed, you lose the following, you lose credibility. People
Mm-hmm.
start to distrust you, and it can be long-term distrust if you do it a couple of times, more than once, especially like if we get down to number four. um you got a big problem. You got a problem. Like it's not going to work anymore, because it's
Mm-hmm.
going to proving what you're saying, which like he doubled down. Okay, as an example, he actually doubled down and became frustrated. He's draining resources. He's getting now attacks in the legal press. It was everywhere on the socials. Okay, the next senator that came up to talk to him and congressperson, were just at him. It just did so much damage, especially like doubling down on it instead of saying, well, it's a matter. I mean, the simple thing would have been to say, to keep the fantasy going, would have been to say something like, it's a matter of interpretation. It's how you look at it. It depends on how you look at it. But instead, he doubled down that the math is correct and he knows what he's talking about. And actually said that the president uses his own form of math to say these things. And I was like, you mean like non math? You mean like fantasy math? Like, I didn't know we had fantasy math, Rekkr. I didn't.
I
I didn't.
didn't know either. And
I,
as far as I understood, math is the only math within maths is the only place where you find something that is actually true, that is
definitive. It's
scientifically
actually,
true.
and consistent. Is right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay. But apparently, we can make up math. We can have fantasy math. Okay, because it makes people feel good. Okay. So, yeah, I'm
I
going to
mean,
let you
look at
think.
most millionaires.
Yeah, but I mean, there was no safe exit to that interview for RFK once he doubled down on it. Like there was no, and that's what happens when you overuse and you escalate, or you're crossing ethical lines. You're just being outright manipulative for the crowds, for the masses. It's just
Mm-hmm.
inevitable. So you take the last one. Yeah.
In the last one, when the audience wants a solution, not stories. That that's basically when people are are tired of hearing what's the word when people are tired of hearing what could be done or what they want or what this person wants to do, and they just want the solution. That's more often than not when everything starts to break down.
Mm-hmm.
When most people in power or in a high position start have their subordinates or general population start saying, "Well, this is all nice, well and good that you're talking like this, but you know,
You
petrol
haven't
is
done it.
still $4."
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
um,
Uh, it, that's the problem, is that when they don't actually address, when it's all pomp and circumstance in no real results, in those results have to be palatable or relatable, and you have to be able to point to them, and they have to be related to the actual issue, and not just like a diversion. Example, okay, I hate to keep coming back to Congress, but here in
pandering.
America, pandering. Here
Yes.
is here is a perfect example of something that happened in the recent past. We had the Epstein files Congress, meeting, and they had Pam Bondi there, and they were asking her about the release and why certain things were missing and why they can have a copy of it, but then it just disappeared from the public website, this, that, and the other thing. And she just kept saying, why are you asking me these questions instead of talking about Trump's 500-point increase in the stock market?
Yeah, why weren't we?
Because we were there
It's
to talk about
500.
the Epstein files. Like, but
What
no,
files?
I know you're gonna get on me. Like, that's too reasonable, Claire. Like, of course, why would you expect Pam Bondi to actually answer a question about the Epstein files in a congressional hearing about the Epstein files. She'd much rather talk about the stock market. It is.
Exactly. And
It is.
besides, the files never existed anyway. They were never there.
Yeah, but last I checked, Pam Bondi at the time was not running the Treasury Department or the SEC. She was actually the head of the Department of Justice, responsible for releasing the Epstein files. So, I mean,
But 500 points, Claire. The stock market. Do you not understand? We're doing amazingly. Just ignore the fact that it's only like the top 0.001%
okay.
that's actually causing the stock market to raise, and the other
Okay.
99% of people that have anything to do with the stock market haven't even
Oh my
seen any
God.
returns in the past, like, how many years? It's still going up.
No, actually, was anybody else with me? I'm listening to that hearing, and I want to put up a sign that says "wrong hearing." Like, yo, Pam, this check your calendar. Check your notes. Wrong notes, Pam. Like, no, wrong speech. Like, stop it. Get on the same page with the year. No, it was embarrassing. It was literally embarrassing. Okay. Because at one point reality comes in and the fantasy isn't going to work. Yes, the fantasy that we're not going to, why are we talking the fantasy of we're doing so great as a country? Let's just leave the Epstein files alone because that makes us look bad. Like nobody was buying it. No, they were
I
sick of it. It was
I think
years of this going on, you know. And not all of it is this administration. Let's admit it. Every administration before did not release them and did stuff too. Like so, you can't blame it all on
oh
them.
yeah.
But the whole situation is that the audience itself, the audience being the world now, because this isn't just an American problem. This has
Mhm.
hit every country. When those files came out, people have had to step down, have been embarrassed, has had their own statements put up in black and white against them that they said they never were here or didn't know anything about it. And then, well, here's some emails and here's some pictures and here's the flight log. And yes, you were. And why didn't you just be honest about it? Like all over the world, people are stepping down from political or, um, public figures because of it. Not just in America. In
Mhm.
America, we're hiding it a lot more. We're not actually holding people responsible as much as we should. But in other countries, they just stepped up and went, "How dare you?"
Mhm.
Andrew, titleless, homeless, like kicked out. Okay. I think there was a couple of other countries where like people high up in government had to step down just because they didn't bring it out first. So now they're caught in the net of you're part of the conspiracy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that proves that one pretty good. Right. So we get to the fun part. More
Mhm.
examples. More examples. And these are going to be right from the book if you're following along. These are laid out to here's the reality of the situation, and here's the fantasy. Here's how the fantasy goes to make it feel better, and then we're going to read an example from the book that portrays what they're saying there. Would you like to take the first one, Rekkr? Are you ready? Are you back down to earth here? The round globe that we live
Yes.
on that you want to disavow.
Yes, I think I am. My
Hmm.
feet are on this flat ground.
Yeah, gravity does that.
What? What's gravity?
Oh, just carry on. Like, just like,
Change. Reality. Change is slow and gradual. It requires hard work, a bit of luck, a fair amount of self sacrifice, and a lot of patience, and even more planning.
oh yes, planning. We got to use that law. Absolutely.
Mm,
Nice segue there. So that's the reality of the situation. What's the fantasy we use against it?
the fantasy, the greatest fantasy that you can play on most people is a sudden transformation that will bring a total change in one's fortunes, bypassing work, luck, self-sacrifice, and time in one fantastic stroke.
Okay, so now, do you want to read us a little blurb, an example?
Absolutely. So, this is, of course, the fantasy par excellence of the charlatans, who prowl among us to this day and was the key to Bragadino's success. Promise a great and total change from poor to rich, sickness to health, misery to ecstasy, and you will have followers. How did the great 16th century German quack Leonard Thun-
Thur-
Thurnis-
Thernizer.
Thurnisio
Thurni-
Thurnizer become the
Mhm.
court physician for the Elector of Brandenburg without ever studying medicine? Instead of offering amputations, leeches, and foul tasting purgatives, the medicine of the time, Thun- Thur-
Thernizer.
Thurnizer of offered sweet tasting elixirs and promised instant recovery. Fashionable courtiers especially wanted his solutions of drinkable gold, which cost a fortune. If some inexplicable illness assailed you, Thurnizer would consult a horoscope and prescribe a talisman. Who could resist such a fantasy? Health and well-being without sacrifice and pain. And
Okay.
I wanna break some news to people that has always bugged me for my entire life. Medication doesn't have to taste bad. They do it on purpose. It's deliberate.
Hmm.
Medication tastes bad because they don't want you drinking it on for fun.
You know why? Because if it's medicine and it makes you feel good and it tastes good, then it must not be good for you because the fantasy that's laid out, we've all exposed that as being scammed. There's so many people out there selling us elixirs and things that are good and we fall for it. Now we're jaded. Like if it don't taste bad or I didn't have to suffer, it must not be the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
So
Also, they don't want children to go, "Oh, this tastes amazing!" Glug
well,
glug
that
glug.
also. But you know what? I really fail to think that pharmaceutical companies have anybody's best interest at heart anymore. So I doubt that's the reason anymore. Basically, the
I don't.
reason is it's cheaper.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would you
Less
agree?
ingredients involved in making
Yeah,
something taste good, in making something taste bad than there is making something taste good.
exactly. So, yeah, no, I get it's too. So that's a good example of that one. Let's go on to the next one. The reality, the social realm has hard set codes and boundaries. We understand their limits and know that we have to move within the same familiar circles day in and day out. We get that, right? We kind of get that with society. But the fantasy
Absolutely.
is that we can enter a totally new world with different codes and the promise of adventure, especially if we don't like some of these hard set codes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This is a good one. This one's true fantasy. Like just like thinking a different world. I want it to be a better way. I want to know that any job that I take, I'm going to get equal pay to the man standing next to me. Which it's
Mm-hmm.
better. I don't want to start an argument with you, Rekkr. It is better.
Mm-hmm.
But it ain't there yet. It's still not dollar for dollar. It is not. That's a fact. But I want to deal
Mm.
in the fantasy of like, or whether you would like to deal in the fantasy as a man, and I just say you generally, like as all of you, that it is getting better. Stop complaining about it. There's no real difference there. It does still exist. It's not progressing as fast. And so nobody wants to deal with the reality that it's still there. We want to just say, yeah, problem solved. Let's move on. The
Mm-hmm.
fantasy of it. But, you know, that's the different world. And an example from the book, uh, Green writes that in the early 1700s, all London was abuzz with the talk of a mysterious stranger, a young man named George Salmonizer. He arrived from what was to most Englishmen a fantastical land, the island of Formosa, which is now Taiwan, off the coast of China. Oxford University engaged Salmanzar to teach the island's language, and a few years later, he translated the Bible into Formosan and then wrote a book, an immediate bestseller, on Formosa's history and geography. English royalty wined and dined the young man, and everywhere he went, he entertained his hosts with wondrous stories of his homeland and his bizarre customs. But after Salmanzar died, it was revealed that he was in fact merely a Frenchman with a rich imagination. Everything he had said about Formosa, its alphabet, its language, its literature, its entire culture, he had invented. He had built on the English public's ignorance of the place to concoct an elaborate story that fulfilled their desire for the exotic and strange. British culture's rigid control of the time of people's dangerous dreams gave him the perfect opportunity to exploit their fantasy.
What do you
Because
mean of
the
the time?
well, well, being kind to another nation. Shut up. Shut up. The fantasy of the exotic, of course, can also skirt the sexual. It must not come too close, though, for the physical hinders the power of fantasy. It can be seen and grasped and then tired of. The fate of most courtesans, unfortunately. The bodily charms of the mistress can only whet the master's appetite for more indifferent pleasures, a new beauty to adore. To bring power, fantasy must remain to some degree unrealized, literally unreal. The dancer Matahari, for instance, like she rose to public prominence in Paris before World War One, but she had quite ordinary looks. She was no great beauty, but her power came from the fantasy she created of being strange, exotic, unknowable, and indecipherable. The taboo she worked with was less sex itself than breaking of social codes. Another form of the fantasy of the exotic is simply the hope for relief from boredom. Con artists love to play on oppressiveness of the working world, its lack of adventure. Their cons might involve, say, the recovery of lost Spanish treasure, with the possible participation of an alluring Mexican senorita and a connection to the president of the South American country. Anything offering release from the humdrum, make it more exciting for you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that? Wait a minute. That's too open ended a question. Do not answer it. Let's just move on to number three.
Okay, let's move on to number 3. Uh, Number 3. Society is fragmented and full of conflict. And the fantasy, people can come together in a mystical union of souls.
Oh, the woke issue. Here we go. Okay.
We're all. Oh my god, no, that song. I'm not. Doesn't matter, it's stuck in
What
my head
about the
now.
Coke commercial? I'd like to teach the world to sing. You know that one? In perfect
I
harmony?
don't actually.
Oh, I'll
I
send
don't
it to
actually
you.
remember that one. Okay,
Oh,
absolutely.
oh, I'm showing my age. Somebody help me out. I'm I'm really not ancient. I, anyway.
So in the 1920s, the conman Oscar Hartzell made a quick fortune uh, out of the age-old Sir Francis Drake swindle, basically promising any sucker who happened to be surnamed Drake a substantial share of the long-lost Drake treasure, to which Hartzell had access. Thousands across the Midwest fell for the scam, which Hartzell cleverly turned into a crusade against the government and everyone else who was trying to keep the Drake fortune out of the rightful hands of its heirs. There developed a mystical union of the oppressed Drakes. Seems like that's happening even to this very day.
Yes.
Uh,
Mhm.
with emotional rallies and meetings, promise, uh, promise such a union and you can gain much power, but it is a dangerous power that can easily turn against you. This is a fantasy of demigorgons, dem, demigorgons to play on.
Demigods. It's just gods.
Demigods, that's it. I It's a word.
I know.
It's
Words.
it's
Words
it's
can
one of
be
them
hard.
nerd words.
Me being the wordiest nerd around. I'll help you. No problem. You like I say, I'm just trying to help. I'm not trying to be rude.
Hmm.
Okay. But
But
no,
yeah,
I get
if you
that.
can,
I get that one totally. Yeah.
yeah, it plays on the us against them type mentality,
Yep. Yep.
the in group out group, which is
Hmm.
it is a very very strong thing because people are
Hmm.
naturally, um, uh,
Drawn to
for
the
lack of a better
underdog.
term, herd animals.
Yes, tribalism exists, and we
Tribalism exists.
and we always will come together to defend the underdog in most cases. That's an emotional
Hmm.
response. It makes us feel good to think we're helping all those poor oppressed drakes who aren't getting their money and the government's being so mean to them. Like we're all gonna like who wouldn't rally to be part of that cause, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. This is the hardest one. I can't believe that I have to do this one, but I'll do it. The reality, death. The dead cannot be brought back, and the past cannot be changed. That's a cold, sobering fact. That's reality. But the fantasy, a sudden reversal of this intolerable fact. Now, this one hits hard because this con has many variations, but requires a lot of skill and subtlety. The beauty and importance of the art of Vermeer, for example, have long been recognized, but his paintings were small in number, and they're extremely rare. In the 1930s, though, Vermeers began to appear on the art market all of a sudden. Experts were called on to verify them and pronounce them real. Possession of these new Vermeers would crown a collector's career. It was like the resurrection of Lazarus in a strange way. Vermeer had been brought back to life. The past had been changed. Only later did it come out that the new Vermeers were the work of a middle aged Dutch forger named Han van Mergien, and he had chosen Vermeer for his scam because he understood fantasy. The paintings would seem real precisely because the public and the experts as well so desperately wanted to believe they were. Remember, the key to fantasy is distance. The distance has allure and promise. It seems simple and problem free. What you're offering then should be ungraspable. Never let it become oppressively familiar. It is the mirage in the distance, withdrawing as the sucker approaches. Never be too direct in describing a fantasy. Keep it vague. As a forger of fantasies, you let your victim come close enough to see and be tempted, but keep them far enough away that that he stays dreaming and desiring the fantasy. Like, in other words, don't let them reveal what's behind the mist.
Hmm.
Don't look behind the curtain.
Yep.
Yes.
Never look behind the
There's
curtain.
never look behind the curtain. Oz will tell you. That just ruins everything if you go
Hmm.
look behind the curtain. The fantasy was great. Don't we agree? The Wizard of Oz, that was all just wonderful until they look behind the curtain. And then, well, exposure. Mm.
So, the image. The moon, unattainable, always changing shape, disappearing and reappearing. We look at it, imagine, wonder, and pine. Never familiar, continuous provoker of dreams. Do not offer the obvious, promise the moon. And that holds true.
Yep.
If you can offer the moon, just like oh, what was the scammer's name who offered the Eiffel Tower?
Mm-hmm. God,
People
who is that? Wait, who is that? It was Otter.
um
Oh God, Otto von. Oh gosh,
Octavia?
Bismarck?
No.
No, Otto
Bismarck,
von
that's it.
Bismarck. Bismarck, was it Bismarck? Because I know we've talked about them.
Mm-hmm. Otto von Bismarck, yes.
That's it. Okay, so where are we next? I think we're at examples, and we're just going to go over these briefly so we can get to questions too. But
Mm-hmm.
because and also because it's politics, and I like keeping my streams up. I hate having to bring anything down. Well, when we talk about modern political examples here of Law 32 specifically, the fantasy, a great example, much to my chagrin, is Donald Trump's 2024 campaign. Um, he framed himself over and over again as the champion of the forgotten Americans against the corrupt elite, offering a fantasy of national restoration and personal recognition for his best. He basically came out and I see you. I'm one of you. We need to tear them down at the top and get what you actually want and make, famous campaign thing, make American great. But we'll talk about that later. Well, and then when anybody tried to tear him down for this, he talked about like because at the same time he was running this campaign, he was under indictment for documents and for fraud in his campaign and numerous other things. He had a sex scandal lawsuit going on in Manhattan with the Eugene Eugene Carroll. Okay, like he was everywhere negatively, legally, all over the place. But none of that should matter because after all, this is just a witch hunt, right, Rekkr? This is just them
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep me down so I can't help the forgotten Americans of this country get what they truly want. He invited all of these supporters into the fantasy that he was just a persecuted hero who was fighting for their justice. But psychologically, it worked because it tapped grievance. It tapped what we were. Remember, I said Donald Trump got voted in because everybody's just so damn pissed off. Like everybody's
Mm-hmm.
just like so over the top about everything. Basically, feeling they've been ignored. That we're the real
Yep.
identity. We are the real Americans here, and nobody's listening to us. Like, who's pulling the strings? Because we're the Americans voting for this shit. Like, what's going on? And then he offered redemption that because they're suffering it proves that you know because we're suffering and now he recognizes that we're really the chosen and the righteous here and we're going to get what we want, and it worked very very well. Oh, masterly, I would say, for Law 32. Okay. um People bought into it that it's so messed up and we've got to really shake things up, and we people just bought into it that he was going to do things differently. And well, to some degree, I mean, to a lot actually, he is doing everything differently. I have to admit, he's doing it very differently. Sometimes out of bounds on the constraints of legally, but he is definitely fulfilling that campaign promise of not doing it the standard way.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And definitely not fitting within uh the normal
Well, that's
of
what he
how it's.
promised. You
Yep.
that he would be different. Definitely
Mm-hmm.
different. Okay. And going along with that, there's the broader, more national, populist instant change campaigns. All countries, everywhere, all elections that say, you don't like the way things are going. And you know what? We're going to end corruption. We're going to turn everything around.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like the crime numbers? I'm going to do something about it. restoring
We're going to
jobs,
restore jobs.
But
Hmm.
they do it. The fantasy is they make the promises, but they actually don't give you the detail, the actual what we call the real substance of the fantasy, actual substance of the fantasy by providing like, well, where's the policy? How are you actually going to do that? But we buy into that because we want restored jobs. We want to fix crime. We want to end
Hmm.
corruption. So there's all these key things of the fantasy that stimulate us. And so we just, there you go. But it happens everywhere. It's not just America. Then we get
Yeah.
into this part that you're really going to love. Those make whatever great again style slogans. In political examples of Law 32, you have to admit that slogans promise a return to a golden age, a pure fantasy play. They conjure a simplified, idealized past, less complexity, more control, higher status. And this
Hmm.
sparked a big conversation with you and I on whether they are
Hmm.
ethical or not. We all know that these kind of slogans are used in advertising. You know, buy my soda, it's going to make you feel good. Wear this shade of lipstick, he will fall for you instantly. Use this cream, you're going to be more beautiful tomorrow. Um, you know, take this protein drink, and your muscles are going to get bigger. You know what I'm talking about. It's not just political. Well, slogans, whether full of substance or without substance, are very popular in Law 22. They are like a foundation and
Absolutely.
a perfect shining example of Law 32 everywhere in our lives, you know?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and they and they tend and slogans work the best. And they have proven to work the best continuously, especially within the political system. Whether or not they're ethical, it hasn't never mattered. Who
Not at first.
remembers?
Yeah.
Huh?
At
Who?
first.
Yeah, at first. Who remembers the Nike slogan? Just do it. That
Exactly.
that
Right?
was a brilliant slogan. I
Absolutely.
believe, it helped Nike. It made Nike stocks go up really high.
But they
And
didn't say do what, did they?
no, they just said it, and that
That's
is
open ended
where.
fantasy, right?
Yep,
Like,
that's where I would consider it to be a unethical uh uh unethical
fantasy. Yeah, because
fantasy. Yeah, an unethical manipulation of your fantasy, because
even though
it's,
it's, yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
Be, sorry, it's because it requires you to actually fill in more than it is offering. And this is very easily it's very easily seen within everything. Like, we'll take the two slogans that we've spoken about. Both of them are, well, in essence, unethical. So one being um one being one being Make America Great Again, and
Mm-hmm.
the other one being Yes We Can. Both of them
Two,
by
yeah,
uh yeah, one by Trump, the other by Obama, to inspire people.
right.
And the inspiration is what I mean, it's what they want to do, and it's fine to inspire people.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, my personal gripe is that they don't mean anything. If you really think about it, if you drill down, like, what does Make America Great Again actually mean?
It's
Well,
true.
there's a little bit of a hint there, but you really have to fill in the gaps. Does it if you take it in a vacuum, does it mean better finances? Does it mean safer housing? Does it mean safer streets? Does it mean more secure jobs? Does it mean does it mean it can mean anything you want.
And I get
And
it. That's why it's a perfect use of it, isn't it? Because it leaves
hmm
it open ended to interpretation to the individual. In other words, they just put the concept out there in black and white, and you've got to color it. You've got to add out what it means to you, right?
and it
You've
didn't.
got to fill it on. So they make you no real solid promises. They don't give you anything like how to do it, what they're actually talking about. It's kind of like an emotional manipulation or feel good that you're automatically going to respond to because you're totally in control of those colors and what it means to you.
Hmm.
Make America Great Again is different for every American. Make America Great
Hmm.
Again just that statement alone just made you say things like it used to be better and I wanted to go back to that. But better how? How do
Hmm.
you represent that to yourself? Was it that there was a better stock market? Was it that milk was only $2? Was it that gas was less than $2? You know, was it that you were able to buy your home? You know, like it's personalized. And that's how this law can be dangerous because it's so easy to draw people in to make a slogan like that mean 1,000 different things, but all successfully at the time to get them voted in. But that
Yes.
same, but because, like what you said, it's unethical because it's manipulative. The danger is because it was an unethical fantasy, the use of a fantasy in a kind of unethical way, because the unethical part is there's no real substance to what the fantasy is. You have to provide it individually yourself. The person conveying the fantasy didn't, you know, so that when you realize that none of this is coming true, that's why Make America Great Again is a meme now and not a
Hmm.
successful slogan. It was a successful fantasy, and now it's a meme because it's been
Yes.
exposed as well. When gas is $4 and you can't put food on the table, um, wait a minute. Like, yeah, some things you're saying are better, but like the stuff that matters to me isn't. So for me, America is not great right now. And you
Yeah.
didn't make
We're
it
meant to
great.
be making it great, and it's not being great.
Not
It's
for
not been
most.
great.
Maybe for some, but not for most. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
it's very individual. So there's a great risk there. The same thing, like, I get your point about Obama, and I think some people would be shocked because, like, the "Yes We Can" speech was epic. The whole
Hmm.
speech, taken in context, you know,
It was brilliant. It was
was
absolutely
brilliant.
brilliant. In
But
its
the
entirety,
but
it's
the
absolutely brilliant.
But the
But
slogan was open ended. Yes, we can.
yep.
What? Just like Nike's, just do it. Do what? Like it was
Mm.
so individual. Okay. Now the Nike slogan isn't really unethical because the just do it put the responsibility on the person absorbing the fantasy to not only decide what it is to do it, but also to do it.
Hmm.
You had to actually decide what it was, and then you're responsible for like doing it. It was just a motivational aspiration to take charge. So really they
Hmm.
were just, and they're telling you like it was complete. There was no lack of real substance there because the real substance was just do it. Just do it, because if you don't do anything, you can't accomplish anything. If you just do it, at least you're trying and you're moving in the right direction. So it was complete.
Exactly.
It didn't leave you hanging. Even if you had to actually put the inscriptors on it, even if you had to define what the it was, um,
Hmm.
it still was successful and it wasn't that manipulative. It stayed in the aspiration in motivating kind of fantasy feel good thing, and it really didn't take on the negativity that Yes We Can does. Because I agree with you here, Rekkr. Everybody,
Hmm.
like, don't be shocked. I agree 100% with this. As much as I love that speech, the Yes We Can is so open ended, and the slogan itself doesn't say what or how, especially the how is not in
Hmm.
there. And so you can't accomplish it. You can't fulfill the fantasy.
It provides the inspiration, and I think this is the biggest the biggest thing, the biggest way to actually know whether or not something being pitched to you actually has substance is how much it is trying to inspire you to think,
Mm-hmm.
but how much it is trying to inspire you to fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And most of those slogans are very inspiring, are incredibly inspiring. But they're not inspiring you because of their because of what they're offering. They're inspiring you more to fill in the gaps as to what you want to happen.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Uh, so,
Yeah.
like, yes, we can fix the roads because goddamn them potholes.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, there were really big problems at the time of that speech, for that inauguration speech, and it was very inspiring. But yes, some things got accomplished, but it was so open ended that I do agree with you that it does portray itself as a mass manipulation uh, of the public into a fantasy of like
Mm-hmm.
everything just getting accomplished and leaving it up to you to figure out what that was or how. But if you get down into the speech itself, he does get into some of the nuts and bolts of it, so it still stands. The speech itself is not
Mm-hmm.
unethical. The slogan is. Does that make sense? Like the speech
Mm-hmm.
itself, the whole inauguration speech is great. It's inspiring. It has in there targeted issues and what you can do about it and how you yourself can apply yourself to it. It actually gives real substance. But the slogan doesn't. The campaign slogan
Yes.
and the whole thing that the yes we can part of it as a slogan out there as a fantasy didn't provide the real substance because it was
Mm-hmm.
too open ended for interpretation by everybody. And it had no, the slogan itself doesn't have a vehicle in there on how to accomplish it. Same thing with the manga one. So it almost becomes a meme itself too, the slogan, even though I'll stand by that damn inauguration speech. It was some beautifully written. It's beautifully written. I mean, I passed that thing around like I don't know what. I made everybody read it in my family,
Mm-hmm.
everybody. Um,
And
but mhm.
shall we talk about what actually was a good and what you could call a completely ethical slogan or
Mhm.
thing? And the one that stuck out to me was actually Martin Luther King's "I Had a Dream."
Oh,
And
excellent.
the
Yes.
ultimately the slogan within that, the thing that people remember the most is uh, judge someone not by the color of their skin but by the content of their character.
So it had the
And
real substance in there, the guide to how to make things better.
mhm.
He had a dream on making things better at the time, and the slogan matches the whole integrity of the speech,
Mhm.
because it was a dream that things could be better. But the dream didn't lack the fantasy part of it. I had a dream, the fantasy that this world could be a better place, that there would be complete equality, in that if everybody would just forget about looking at the differences and just look at the commonalities, right? This world would be a better place. It literally described it in bikini.
Exactly.
So when you hear the slogan, you're you have the fantasy, but it has substance behind it that's relatable to you.
Mhm.
Something you can do about it, something you can see that will work. Like you automatically, when you hear that, what you said about not judging a book by its cover, people can relate to that right away and they could see that that's a successful way to get to the goal of this fantasy world we want of complete equality.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like it's perfect. It's definitely an ethical fantasy. Absolutely. Both ends. The slogan, the speech, the whole thing. Yeah. It totally ethical. I don't
Mhm.
think anybody who heard that speech feels that they were manipulated.
No,
You?
no, I,
Except for those
I,
that were against the idea of the laws at the time that they were trying to put through, might say it was a mass manipulation because it tugged on the heartstrings of Americans and, this, that, and the other thing. But, oh well, fair play. That's what Law 32 is all about, dude. Like, you know, well, politicians do it all the time. They tapped
and
into
it's what,
something, yeah, that was
yeah, it's
necessary.
what any social movement does.
Hmm. And I think what happened was because it wasn't necessarily political, he wasn't running for office. It was a real advocacy kind of movement. It was like, here's a problem and we need to do something about it kind of thing. It wasn't a vote for me, I'll make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that added a lot of credibility to it in the real substance of it. All right, so there are other types of examples in modern day life here that we should get to. Everything's not political, although most things are eventually. Everything's not, though. Some
Unfortunately, the this law is most common in political spheres.
in our environment currently in 2026,
Mm.
yes, I would agree. But there's also like when, startup founders are pitching products, like let's talk about tech and startup visionaries. You got a product to sell. You need people to help you get it out there and everything. You're going to go out there and you're going to be like advertising it as we can change things. Like get involved with this because this is going to be like real change. It gives you that psychological hook. They like you're being told about something first, you're on the cutting edge of it, like you're in on this future, like in like selling stocks or bitcoin or creating a product that's supposed to change the world or make something easier for people to do. It gives great significance in it's also applies that shortcut, that instant satisfaction, because massive upside with minimal risk on paper, but it's not the reality of it. But it does kind of stimulate that type of thinking that, we're going to get results really quick. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's done all the time. I mean, Apple, small startup tech companies, uh, just the hook is strong. Getting people to
It is.
invest in things, that way. Money marketing accounts, different profiles, stock managers, definitely everywhere. A salesman, basically. The
Yeah,
next newest model. Why do you need the next new iPhone? Your old one still works. Why do you need the new one? You know.
exactly. Then,
Uh, Go
then
ahead.
the next one is influencer, manifestation, and lifestyle gurus. Influencers sell an almost fiction-free fantasy. Think right, buy my course, and you can escape your job, escape the matrix, travel endlessly, and be spiritually aligned. Ugh, how many times have we heard that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Align your chakras.
Yes. Yeah.
This bypasses the slow grind of skill, the structural constraints, and luck, and instead offers emotionally soothing narratives of total control over your outcome. Which I will say personally, it is always better to at least convince yourself that you have total control over everything. So everything that happens to you is something that you are in control of, some way,
Hmm.
shape, or form. Um, but that's just me personally.
Hmm. This is true. It's just like putting a band-aid on it instead of like
Mm,
actually yeah. The quick fix is not usually always the permanent fix. So
no, but
like
nothing is more permanent than a
but we all
temporary fix.
but we all gravitate towards that quick one because we just want the easy way. We want the fantasy. We want to know that if we take this pill, we're instantly gonna have a better life. you know, if I
Yeah,
just if I just eat this superfood, or If I just, would you say, align my chakras? If I align
Yeah.
my chakras, my life, I will get married. I will have, I'll have a partner. I'll have a great job. I'll have money, prestige, great. Oh, and I'm gonna look fine as hell too. Like, and it's all because I just aligned my chakras. That, yeah.
We
So
all want the Ozempic of life.
yes, we lost. You're on a roll today. Oh my god. I have to unfire you now for that one. God damn it. So it was like, what did I decrease the payroll for what, an hour? Like, damn. Well, still a silver lining. There's that
Hmm.
hour. Anyway, celebrity redemption arcs, they're our favorite, right? Like, gosh
Hmm.
damn. Like, look, Law 32 goes with everybody, celebrities or regular people, anybody that needs to apologize for something they did wrong, publicly or not publicly. You got yourself as your PR team out there doing Law 22, crafting that art to say, like, flawed, deeply human, but now I've done the work and I'm reborn. I'm going to get right. I'm going to do it right. That plays to our fantasy that people can dramatically transform instantly, overnight, just by saying, yeah, I did that. I'm sorry. Never going to do it again. I have no moral flaws. I've got no lack of integrity. No, no, no. Everything's cool here. Like, nope, nope. You know, because
Ever
we want
ever
we
found
want to
it
believe.
funny? Ever found it funny how when people screw up, when a lot of people screw up really badly, they all of a suddenly become really, really Christian, just out of the
Yes,
blue. They find Jesus.
yes. Don't get me started. That reminds me. I've got to do an update on Russell Brand's criminal charges in England and his American tour right now of well, I don't know what you call it, apologetics, but it's definitely fantasy. It's definitely Law 32, but we'll get into that another time. It's definitely, wow, yeah, embarrassing. But there are people that want to believe that you can just be forgiven and everything's going to be okay because it feels good. It feels good to know that you can do wrong and then just go through the motions and everything's going to be fine. Now, in the long term, those motions that you go through actually have to be action and sustainable and visible,
Mm-hmm.
or this too just falls apart. I mean, a redemption arc doesn't work forever unless you actually have actions behind it that people can see. Like, it doesn't work if you tell people I'm a flawed individual, I'm definitely human, but I've done the work, and then you get arrested or exposed for the same damn thing like a couple of months later.
Exactly.
You know, you know, you
I
know.
learnt my lesson. Okay, then why is there Coke on your table? Um,
Exactly. Oh yes,
I
yeah,
I
yeah.
research purposes.
Yeah, exactly. Or the DWIs, the drinking, you get the ticket, you get
Mm-hmm.
exposed, the celebrity. He says he goes to rehab, he had a problem, he's never doing it again, and 3 months later, like, he's caused an accident or he's done it again, you know. Redemption arcs don't work unless you actually do the work or have visible
Mm-hmm.
results with it. They only work like for a little while, like Logan Paul's redemption arc is a total failure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Robert Downey Jr., everybody, that actor, his redemption arc,
Absolute success.
absolute success. Exactly.
And if we want to
Um,
talk about someone who managed to, who is like walking plot armor, a YouTuber or streamer known as Saikuno,
oh
who
my god.
managed
Oh,
to,
it is. I don't know if our audience knows that much about what goes on in Twitch, but he's a
yeah,
Twitch streamer for you guys
he
that
he
may not know.
base basically he put on this persona of being this innocent little boy who has no idea about how to deal with girls and how to talk with them, and very shy, and the entire time he had been hitting up nearly every single one of the girls that he possibly could to hook up with them.
Mm-hmm.
Then he
But
got
yeah,
caught.
He's got this virginal attitude on stream, and he hangs out with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of women, and he's got this like cute virginal. Oh my god, I'm so blushing. I'm so shy. I don't know anything. And behind the scenes, total player, like totally in control too. Women
To the
flocking
level you
to him.
kind of have to respect a little
You
bit.
have to kind of respect for it because as the time, he's not only got the YouTube personal persona, he also has a monogamous long-term relationship in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And he's hitting up every small creator in woman that comes into his circle successfully.
Basically.
But then here's the
And
thing, successfully.
yeah,
And they got
so
exposed for it, right?
yep, he got exposed for it. They caught him. There was a video made about it, basically exposing the fact that he was a lying f boy,
Mm-hmm.
and he still somehow came out on top by he because he released a statement because some of the people who he played decided to over exaggerate things, which then allowed him to be more accurate with how whatever happened, and his girlfriend basically forgave him and wanted to work things out,
And they were working it out at the time. Like
and
that,
they were
that
working it out at the time. Yep.
yeah. And what happened is it is wrong what he did. And everybody
Oh,
agrees with that.
100%.
But
No one's
then
gonna.
they come out and they say, okay, so wait a minute. So you're because what they did is they used words like predator and groomer and things like that that weren't true. Nobody was underage. Everybody was willing to come and go. He would invite you to join him at a convention, and if you stayed there, he would take you out. And if you kind of like things got romantic and you slept with him, like that was your choice. There was no forcing. There was no like anything like that. And these all of these women feel played because they asked him if he was in a relationship or they wanted to be in a relationship, and it kind of sounded he really did go out of his way to make you think there would be a relationship. You have to admit that, Rekkr, right? Like he was pretty
Oh,
good.
100%.
He made it.
Absolutely.
He made every woman he came in contact want to be in a relationship with him, and he dangled the possibility that they could change him and they would be the first, that they would be like so helpful to him, like and his life would be so complete with you, and then he would get the result he wanted, and then of course he doesn't talk to them anymore. But in his case, it's not that he doesn't talk to them anymore, he changes how he talks to them. He
Mm-hmm.
keeps everybody on a string, like he keeps them all as a possibility of getting him in the end and being the one. Even though he had the one at home, that's the one he wants, and he's working on that relationship. Like it's like he's been exposed, but he cares enough about that relationship that he's like, nope, I'm staying here and I'm working it out with her, because that has to be tough. Like,
Yep.
and the results. He came out on hid.
He came out on
Everybody
top. Yep.
everybody's bashing the people that brought it out, going, it's just sour grapes. You wanted to be the only one, and you're not. And really, what he did is he acted like a cad. He was morally wrong for what he did, but you can't use words like predator and groomer and make stuff up to make somebody to ruin somebody when it wasn't true. What was true
Mm-hmm.
is he invited you to meet him. He invited you. You did things maybe you regret now because you thought you would have a relationship. And yes, he lied to you, but well, there is no but there. Yes, he lied to you, and
Mm.
he's horrible. He's a piece of, he's a piece of shit. And he's a failed human, absolutely. But
Mm-hmm.
to come and attack him and call him a predator without taking your responsibility in the situation, well, that don't look good either. And everybody pounced on that. Really
Yep.
pounced on that because they did all of this and exposed it without actually considering the girlfriend. Because the issue is he had a girlfriend at the time, a live-in girlfriend in a monogamous, in a what she thought and what he was supposed to be in a monogamous relationship, and he admitted that his relationship with his girlfriend was supposed to be monogamous. It's not like they had an agreement that he could do whatever he wanted, and They did all of this to expose you without considering her, and that looks even worse, especially when that's what she said in the apology. Like she said, I just want everybody to know nobody contacted me to let me know that they were going to do this, and nobody considered me in the repercussions of how you're throwing my personal life out there, my name, like all of this stuff. That was bad because creators just piled on to make money on it, and she had something to say about that, and I was kind of proud of her for that, actually, and she shined a light on that. So anyway, questions. We already talked about some of these, um, because we're just past the 2 hours. Oh,
Yeah, we pretty much talked about all of these actually.
we really did. Let me just see. Okay, we talked about what was a good ethical fantasy, and with the slogans, we kind of covered some of the weaponized ones. But can you think of
Mm,
another good example of a weaponized fantasy, which would be like a scam or cultish politics or something like that? Like that was very, very manipulous, dangerous almost. Yeah.
um, another one.
You know what? I think
Lot lottery
you
is. I mean, did we talk about the lottery?
lotteries is really, yes, when people want to put
Mm,
are not even paying their bills because they're investing in lottery tickets, hoping to win.
mm,
When the odds are what 1 to 7 million or something like that. Like I don't know,
yeah.
they're pretty big. I
Well,
mean, they're big.
the
Yeah,
odds. The odds are almost 100% that that lottery is going to be won, but the
but
odds
it ain't
that
gonna
you're
be
going to
you
win,
or like
yeah,
99.
and,
Yeah,
and and that's the thing. The odds of winning lottery are almost 100%. Absolutely. That's not this okay, so I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. This is one of my pet peeves when it comes to any kind of um bloviated talk about uh improving something is the way they use language to tell the truth in a way that leaves out the actual facts, but makes it seem like you're hearing everything because they're
mhm.
telling the truth. Like, for instance, your sorry, winning the lottery, there is almost 100% chance of winning the lottery, and you could, you, you could get a million or multi millions of dollars
Right. The
because
possibility
those
is there.
chances are
Right.
insane. Can you imagine what you could do with it? Those
Right.
chances are there's almost 100% chance that that you're gonna win.
No,
But they
not you're gonna
leave out
win.
the fact
That someone's gonna win.
that some that that
Someone's life is gonna change.
yeah
It's a hundred
that the
percent
lottery will be
guaranteed
won.
that winning the
Mm,
lottery can change your life. That's 100% true,
yep.
right? Winning the lottery can change your life. And it's
Mm-hmm.
100% true that someone's going to win the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
But the real truth, that it ain't going to be you. Because the
Your
chances
chances are like one
are
in
minuscule. Yes.
in America it would be one in like 315 million.
It's a lot. That's a
Assuming that
very
everyone
big,
buys a lotto ticket.
but
It's
you know what I
probably
mean.
less, but it's
Yes.
still
Yes.
microscopic.
Yes, don't hold us to the actual number. Let's just say microscopic it is.
It's
Absolutely.
one in a
Oh,
imagine a big number, and that's probably still not big enough.
yes. But I mean, you're right. That's so manipulative, but that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely weaponized fantasy. They
Mm-hmm.
definitely don't care. Their goal is to sell those tickets because that's how, like in my state, we fund education and things like that. Um, all of the proceeds go to that, and they're definitely going to bring in more money than they pay out. So it's definitely weaponized. I agree with you. The lottery is weaponized fantasy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we do it. It feels good. I mean that chance. I mean that Powerball gets up to $110 million. Like I'm buying a ticket.
Oh, absolutely. I
I
mean,
mean that's more
I
money
think at
than I.
one point,
I'm at the convenience store. I'm picking up a hot drink or a cold drink, and they're offering. They got a lottery machine, and they got the flashing billboard up there. This is this week. It's 110 million. I've already broken the $5 bill on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna buy the ticket. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's gonna feel good too, and I ain't even gonna regret it until I don't win. Like I'm gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Ah, I knew
And
it.
the whole time you're spending the money in your head.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a fun game to play. Don't we all play that game?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You know what happens to me when I play that game
Mm-hmm.
of win the lottery and what would I do? There's never enough money for all the things I want to do. No matter how much I win, there's never enough money to do all what I want to do. Yeah. Well, okay, last one for before we wrap this up. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it's ever ethical for leaders to lean into people's fantasies if the end goal is genuinely good?
Um, is it good? Um, Not inherently, because I'm someone who is a strong believer in not just transparency, but self uh, um, uh, um, oh, I can't remember the. I hate that I can't remember words all the time. Um, like I'm someone who believes in self. I want to say actualization, but I know that's not the right thing. Basically, control over your own reality, and
Hmm.
to go in and manipulate some, to go in and try to manipulate someone else's reality is it. It's sort of like interfering with their. It's sort of like the idea of where your rights end, where their rights begin, your rights end, kind of idea.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. I get what you're
mm,
saying. Like nobody really has the right to. It's a hard thing with all of these laws, right? Like where do you draw the line on getting what you
yeah,
want, accomplishing your goal, whatever it is, the project you're working on, or whatever you're working on success for, in like how many nicks you step on the way. Like
self.
where are the lines? Self-deprecation, authentication. I know what you mean. Like we're responsible for those lines and those boundaries, right?
Mm,
That we put. And so some of these laws, as I've said all along, we're on 32 now, and there's only been a couple of good ones for me. Most of them were painful because I'm like, nah, no, that is straight out manipulation. And yes, you accomplish your goal, but there's got to be a better way. Like because
self determination.
yes, the risk of losing your reputation, hurting another, and affecting somebody's life so drastically just so you can accomplish something, it's downright distasteful to me. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I know, rose colored glasses and all that, but that's how it is. I want to see the world on how I can get there. I want to move that way. Um, but I am based in reality at the same time. Like,
Yes.
so I want my actions always moving towards the fantasy world that I have in my head. But I am clearly aware of how difficult that is and how it's not working. That what I see is what I see, like the real world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I see it for what it is, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let it. I'm going to give up, and I'm just going to do it their way. You know, no, you know. So please finish the rest of the questions in the comments if you're listening or you're listening later. Rekkr and I would love to hear from you. Seriously, we love to answer anything in the comments area on suggestions for this series or about this particular chapter or any chapter. There's also a playlist to every single episode in the description. And also, a link to the actual slides if you want to refer later. But on that, the reversal. I've talked a lot. Do you want to read it or would you?
Sure, I can read the reversal.
Thank you.
So, the reversal. If there is power in tapping into the fantasies of the masses, there is also danger. Fantasy usually contains an element of play. The public half realizes it is being duped, but it keeps the dream alive anyway, relishing the entertainment and the temporary diversion from the everyday that you are providing. So keep it light. Never come too close to the place where you are actually expecting to produce results. That place may prove extremely hazardous. After Bragadino established himself in Munch, he found that the somber-minded Bavarians had far less faith in alchemy than the temperamental Venetians. Only the Duke really believed in it, for he needed it desperately to rescue him out of the hopeless mess he was in. As Brigadino played his familiar waiting game, accepting gifts and expecting patience, the public grew angry. Money was being spent and was yielding no results. In 1592, the Bavarians demanded justice, and eventually, Bragadino found himself swinging from the gallows.
Hmm.
As before, he had promised and had not delivered, but this time he had misjudged the forbearance of his hosts, and his inability to fulfill their fantasies proved fatal. One last thing. Never make the mistake of imagining that fantasy is always fantastical. It certainly contrasts with reality, but reality itself is sometimes so theoretical and stylized that fantasy becomes a desire for simple things. The the image Abraham Lincoln created of himself, for example, as a homespun country lawyer with a beard, made him the common man's president. P.T. Barnum created a successful act with Tom Thumb, a dwarf who dressed up as famous leaders of the past, such as Napoleon and Liam Poon. Them, uh, them wickedly. The show delighted everyone, right up to Queen Victoria, but appealing to their fantasies of the time. Enough of the vainglorious rules of history. The common man knows best. Tom Thumb reversed the familiar pattern of fantasy in which the strange and unknown becomes the ideal, but the act still obeyed the law. For underlying it was the fantasy that the simple man is without problems and is happier than the powerful and the rich. Both Lincoln and Tom Thumb played the commoner, but carefully maintained their distance. Should you play with such a fantasy, you too must carefully cultivate distance and not allow your common persona to become too familiar, or it will not project as fantasy.
Yes. Oh gosh, it is
Mm-hmm.
a perfect example of that. Um, oh, I'm going to bring that up in a second. But also in the chat, I have to agree. There's a comment. I think that's the key of this whole law. The fantasy is a dream, but if we all believe, maybe we can make it real. I think that
Mm-hmm.
succinctly puts in what Law 32 is all about. The hope, the aspirations, anything going to the fantasy that things could be better. It's a comfort. It's why we gravitate towards it. But in the reversal, there's a perfect example when they set out Lincoln in Tom Thumb, it making us feel better because of what they portrayed. You got to be really careful that what you're portraying can't be immediately exposed. I'm going to use one of my favorite targets as an example. Um, uh, ex streamer YouTuber in self-proclaimed political commentator Hassan Piker, who comes off as a socialist, for the common people. I understand your struggles. We've got to make America better. We got to get you health care. We got to get you this. We got to get you that. Comes off as changing it, like all of that way, kind of edgy, uh, kind of, inciting riot, so to speak, on most issues, and not even to get into his support of terrorism to get things done. And then when you look at the real person, now that's his YouTube persona, his Twitch persona, his out here commentary persona. And then you realize that he's a rich kid, a nepo baby, um, who doesn't have to struggle a day in his life, who wears designer clothes and owns clothing company, gets rich gifts, travels around the world, does anything he wants. Kind of that common people, I hear you, I support you thing just falls through the cracks. Like he
Just
becomes a
ignore
meme
the
with
fact that
himself.
I used to play polo and had the entire get up.
Yeah. So like he created the meme himself, you know. So you got to be careful of that too. You don't want to be portraying something that can be so easily debunked that you just look like a clown.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to work. Law 32 is not going to work for you. Whatever pretty picture you paint, if they've got the ugly mask version to pull up right away, it's never going to work. Never going to work. You know. Well, on that, I think we covered it pretty quickly. I think we did good.
Yeah,
We
pretty
did go.
much.
We did. Darn it, we did go over the 2 hours again. Apparently, the key is if I like the law, we're going to be here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't, like we got along very well with this law, like very well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ignoring that
I
whole
enjoyed this law
situation.
too.
Yeah, but I'm ignoring that whole Earth situation that we had to address later. But
What a situation.
yeah, it's exactly what Earth situation.
I
That's
know what you're
right.
talking about. The Earth is
Ah,
round, obviously, but anyway.
oh, thank you. See, people, delete those DMs. I don't need to hear from you. I don't need to hear from you. But on that,
It's a
I
disc, of
hope.
course.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you everybody who's watching the live chat. Thank you for those that joined us in the live chat to help with the discussion and to encourage us to carry on. And for those of you commenting later, please do. Let's be good or bad. We want to hear from you. Um, to like and share the content and to subscribe if you have it already, so you get notification when we're coming back. But we'll be back next Saturday, won't we? Um,
Absolutely.
with Law 33. So I think we'll end with that's it from me. If you just want to tell them what Law 33 is going to be next week and any final words that you have.
So the last law, the next law 33, is discover each man's thumbscrew. It sounds like one that you're not going to
Oh,
enjoy.
wait. What do you mean? How do you know I'm not into torture? That was an assumption on your part, dude.
Fair point. And the final words are visibility of a light. Visibility of a light source diminishes as the inverse square of the distance from the source.
I love words. You basically just summed up like believe the math.
Mm-hmm.
like uh, like what a romantic way to say it. You're actually a poet. Look at that. Hmm. Anyway, thank you very much for this record. I enjoyed this very much. And thank you to
Me
the
too.
mods in the chat and to everybody who came by to say hello and to join in the conversation. We truly appreciate you. And we'll see you all next week.
Yep. See ya.